Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about some of the craziness going on with the Pac-12 schools, Oregon State and Washington State, or the Pac-2 if you want to call it that, and some of the new discussions that they've been under with the college football playoff. But now it's time for some breakout players. We have done this before, we have done this a couple of times in fact, but it's time for part 3 because there are tons of guys across the country that either need to step up or expect to step up into big time roles in 2024. And let's start at Oklahoma and Peyton Bowen, the safety. He is just incredible. Yet last year was a really, really good year for freshman safeties. I think Peyton Bowen is a little bit mad at Caleb Downs for being as good as he was because there would be more people talking about Peyton Bowen if Caleb Downs was not just remarkable in every sense of the word. But Peyton Bowen can do so many different things. He is really, really good against the run, is attacks downhill very fast, and is not afraid of contact at all. Can play a lot of really, really good coverage and doesn't necessarily need to quite as often because Billy Bowman's a little bit more of that mold. But at the end of the day, he is more than capable. Had 5 pass breakups last year, no picks, but at the end of the day, don't really need it if you're a big time safety that is a really, really, really good and run support. So I think he's someone that is going to be a huge part of this Oklahoma team in 2024, but especially just going forward in the kind of Brent Venables era. Brent Venables has been really steadfast in the way that he is going to attack teams and attack this defense in general. The way he's kind of building this team and the way he's building this defense, he's always been hard-nosed. He's always been a little bit more intense and, a little bit more big-bodied guys and guys that aren't afraid of contact. And it took some time for him to get those right guys on campus, get those right guys in the Crimson and Cream, and allow them to kind of learn the way that he wants to do things. As we know, Lincoln Riley was leaving. It was not necessarily the most physical group that he was leaving behind. So that took some time to build up. But Peyton Bowen is honestly the exact guy that I think embodies what Brent Venables wants to do at Oklahoma and wants to kind of build there because he is mean. He plays fast, he plays aggressive, and he does everything that you'd want a safety to do. And with guys in the back end of that defense with him like Billy Bowman and Woody Washington, it gives him a lot more freedom to kind of be the athlete who he is because with those two guys, they're going to hold it down. Woody Washington, obviously a very good corner, and then Billy Bowman, one of the most highly regarded safeties in the SEC this upcoming year. So Peyton Bowen, I think, is more talented than both of them. I think he's probably the best player of the bunch, and he has the most versatility, and you want to be able to use that. So having those two guys in the back end to be kind of the leaders and, hold down their positions very, very tightly, it gives Peyton Bowen the ability to be the athlete that he is and play the different positions he's able to play and be in coverage, be in run support, be wherever he needs to be because he is as big of a player for that defense as really anyone on the entire roster. Another guy that is stepping into just huge shoes is Tony Rojas, the linebacker at Penn State. He only played in 8 games, only had 10 tackles, but his physical ability is just incredible. I think every single Nittany Lion fan, if you're watching right now, I'm sure you know this name. He is someone that has been really showing out, whether that's in practice or early spring or just last year, throughout the year. Definitely someone that Nittany Lion fans are very excited about. And one of the big things that happened this offseason for Penn State fans is Abdul Carter has made the move from linebacker to edge rusher. So he is taking over that edge rushing position mainly because you have Chop Robinson and Adisa Isaac moving on to the NFL. Obviously, 2 huge holes to fill in that team, and Abdul Carter is the best athlete they have on that team. So they put him at the edge rusher role, but you need guys to step up at the linebacker position, and Rojas has just got to be one of those guys. Obviously, they have a couple other guys that are going to be huge. Kobe King is another one that is massive. He's going to probably be the middle linebacker this upcoming year. Might just be the guy with the headset, but I could see Tony Rojas being the guy with the headset depending on the way that he plays throughout the spring and how Tom Allen feels about him. Obviously, a new defensive coordinator, so everyone's kind of starting with a clean slate. And Tom Allen is going to kind of make a decision based off what he sees. So Tony Rojas could be someone that either, breaks into a massive role, becomes, the guy with the headset, the guy communicating everything to the entire defense, or he could be, sitting on the bench watching someone else do that, because this spring is going to be huge for him. It's going to be huge for pretty much everyone on that Penn State defense to prove who they are to the new guy in Tom Allen. So a lot of pressure on him, but he has plenty of guys around him like Abdul Carter and Kobe King to play off of and learn from, and I think he's someone that is going to absolutely burst onto the scene and maybe make some plays that'll make your jaw drop on Saturdays in the fall for sure. And then another guy that might be filling some of the biggest shoes in the entire country is Barrett Carter, the linebacker at Clemson. Obviously, Jeremiah Trotter has moved on to the next level. He was a huge part of that defense, was a big-time communicator, and Barrett Carter essentially just has to be that guy this year. Clemson has been great at producing linebacker talent. We talked about Sammy Brown earlier this week, I believe, when talking about this linebacker group. So it's plenty talented. You got Wade Woodaz, you have Kobe McLeod, and then obviously Sammy Brown, the freshman. There's huge amounts of depth. There's huge amounts of talent. But this is the head of the snake. This is the guy that is going to be leading the way. This is definitely the guy that is going to be the communicator for this team, have the headset in his ear talking to the defensive coordinator, and he's going to have to be huge. He's probably going to have to be one of, if not the emotional leader for this entire team, because that's kind of what linebackers at Clemson have been for a very long time. James Skalski was a huge part of that. Jeremiah Trotter was a huge part of that. So there have been guys in the past that have held a lot of weight at that position, and Barrett Carter is going to be no different, but he is absolutely up to the task. He's an absolute beast, is super athletic, is going to be one of the top linebackers in the game next year, in my opinion, and might just have a Butkus Award in his future if he plays the right way this upcoming year. Another guy that might be a little bit unknown, but honestly should be more well-known across the country is Jacob Parrish, a corner from Kansas State. This dude can absolutely play. He is a little bit undersized from what you would think when you watch him play, because he plays incredibly physical at the line of scrimmage, can play inside or outside, does a ton of really, really good things in coverage, was a all Big 12 honorable mention, 12 starts a year ago, had 37 tackles, 4 picks, and 9 pass breakups, so obviously is really, really good in coverage. Is one of those guys that you look on the field and you feel like you might have kind of a mismatch if you put a bigger receiver on him, but he can definitely hold his own. And with Kansas State this year, they are going to face some real dudes at wide receiver. There are some big-time names across the entire Big 12. Obviously, they don't have to play Arizona in the regular season, but there's a solid chance that they might find themselves in Dallas together. So Tatori McMillan would be a huge part of that. Utah, the same way, could meet them in a big-time game to go to the playoff, and that would be Money Parks, or that would be Dorian Singer, or Texas Tech would be Micah Hudson, the incredible freshman that's coming in. So tons of guys that he is going to have to follow, that he is going to have to be the lockup cornerback for them this upcoming year, because if Kansas State doesn't have that guy on defense, if they don't have the absolute game changer on the outside, it could be a little bit of a disappointing year. I'm sure a lot of people around Manhattan are expecting a Big 12 championship. They're expecting to go to the playoff and at least be heard from in the playoff. And Jacob Parrish is as big a part of that as really anyone on the entire roster, because when you look at this defense, it's talented. It has plenty of players that can play. Chris Klieman is going to put together a good defense. I have no doubt about that. But you need a game changer. Everyone, for the past, however many years, when you go into a national title game, they all have a game changer, and a lot of times it's at that corner position. For Georgia in 2021, obviously it was Keely Ringo with the huge plays. Will Johnson was absolutely massive for Michigan throughout the entirety of last year, so you need that guy on the outside, and Jacob Parrish could absolutely be that guy for Kansas State. And if he can really come into his own and, fulfill that remarkable potential he has, he could be one of the best players in the entire Big 12. And if that's the case, then Kansas State's going to be really, really hard to beat. And then finally, let's finish it off with a guy that really is kind of set up for a lot of success, I think, in 2024 in Kenneth Grant, the D lineman for Michigan. His chance is finally here. Obviously, the Michigan D-line has been pretty remarkable over the last couple of years, and guys have been in and out. There have been a ton of guys go to the next level. Mike Elston, the defensive line coach, has just moved on to join Jim Harbaugh at the Chargers, so there was some worry that some guys might find their way into the portal, but Kenneth Grant and obviously Mason Graham, another huge defensive lineman for them, found are staying put in Ann Arbor. I apologize. But having Mason Graham right next to him is just going to be huge. You can't double team both those guys, so someone's going to have to get a single team, and it's going to be really, really hard to stop those guys when you have that. So Kenneth Grant is probably more of a run stuffing type. Likely will be off the field, I would think, on long third downs, but at the end of the day is a uber good athlete and is someone that can do a lot of different things. So it would not surprise me at all if he was an every down defensive lineman, but obviously that's a really, really hard thing to do, especially in your first year in big time snaps. But all of this obviously depends on how the new defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, plans to use him and plans to use pretty much the entire defense. A lot of guys have different philosophies with how many D linemen you want down, how many D linemen you want on the line at any given point. So it could be that Kenneth Grant is in kind of a rotation situation with Mason Graham. It could be that they're on the field at the same time. But at the end of the day, this guy has elite talent, has elite athleticism. So new D-line coach Jalen Scruggs is someone that has a ton to work with, but obviously has big shoes to fill. And if he's going to fill them, Kenneth Grant is going to be a huge part of that. But that will do it for breakout players for 2024. I have a feeling we will be revisiting that. I definitely have some more offensive guys that I've thought of since the last time I did that one, so we will definitely be back with that probably next week sometime, but we're going to take our final break here, and when we come back, we have a Hot Take Thursday, and it's about the coaching industry, so definitely stick with us, and we will be right back with that.